Hey guys, Jafar here. Rust has changed a lot throughout the past 3 years since my first tutorial video on getting started on Rust. So this is going to be an updated video on how to get started on the new world of Rust in 2019. Once you've entered the world of Rust, you want to first build a spear. This will allow you to better protect yourself against people around you and to protect the gear and resources you are going to get. A wooden spear can be crafted from 300 wood. This will require you to go up to a tree and hit it for a bit. And when doing so, you're also going to notice there's an X on the tree. This is like a little mini game the developers have added to make farming a bit more interesting. So what you want to do is hit that X every time when you're hitting the tree. This will allow you to get more wood per hit and eventually make the farm quicker. And sometimes the X can get a bit glitched and you might try hitting it and it might not work. So just remember, if that happens, you either have to move on to another tree or just keep hitting that tree, but you won't be getting the benefits of hitting that X. Once you have 300 wood now, you should be able to press tab, and in the quick craft section you should be able to see the spear, and click that and it will start crafting. For more information on the craft, you can press Q. This will show you a timer down the bottom of all your crafts currently going on, and for right now it should only be just a spear. But within the Q menu you can see blueprints and other items that you can craft, which might not show up in the quick craft menu in your inventory. You might also need to know there is 3 rock types in Rust, which is a sulfur, a stone and a metal rock. They all look different from each other and give different resources. You also need to know that you need to finish the metal rock completely to get the high quality metal from it. This will be later used for more advanced weapons and building. If you also really can't find stones, there's little rocks on the ground which you can pick up, which will give you 50 stone or a bit of metal and a bit of sulfur. They're all different just like the big rocks, but these rocks give you tiny amounts and it can be picked up just like hemp or mushrooms on the floor. Once you have the spear now to protect yourself, you want to make some stone tools. This will greatly improve the resource gathering rate from your rock, so stone tools are a must in the early game. You will now want to find a stone node. These will look like white medium-sized rocks on the ground, and when you go up to them they should have a glowing light on them. If not, rotate around the rock to see if you can find the glowing light, and if it does, get out your rock and hit that glowing light. It's kind of the same concept as the tree mini game, but for the rocks. You want to keep hitting these glowing lights and it will allow you to gather that rock much faster. Once you've mined the stone rocks, you should have enough stones to make a stone hatchet and stone pickaxe now, altogether requiring 400 wood and 200 stone. Now you've got a spear in your hand and 2 stone tools. You want to try and find some hemp on the ground. Gathering hemp is vital for the early stage since it is required to make so many tools, armor, weapons and also a sleeping bag which will allow you to spawn back up on if you do die. Once you've found a hemp bush, press E on it and it will give you 10 cloth per bush. You want to gather as much as you can because a lot of items are going to chew through that cloth pretty quickly. With that cloth you have now collected, it is recommended to make some bandages to later heal yourself if caught in a fight. Bandages cost 4 cloth to craft and each bandage heals 5 HP. You can also stack up to 3 bandages in one slot, which is recommended to have when roaming the world of Rust. Additionally, as you're going along the ground looking for some hemp, there will be mushrooms on the ground. Don't fear, these mushrooms aren't bad, they're actually amazing for the early game. Go up to them and press E and they'll instantly go onto your hotbar if you have space. Once you've picked up these mushrooms, you want to eat these mushrooms straight away. They will give you additional food and also health. Keep collecting these mushrooms along the ground and eventually you'll be up to 100% health and also won't need to worry about eating for quite a bit. Now you should have quite a bit of hemp, stone and wood in your inventory. This means you can now craft a bow. A bow will greatly improve your chances of survival within the world of Rust. To craft a bow you will need 200 wood and 50 cloth. You'll also need the stone for wooden arrows, which cost 25 wood and 10 stone. Each craft will give you 2 arrows, so I recommend getting 10 crafts going, which will give you 20 arrows. Rivers are great to find as they provide a wealth of food and clean water to drink from. You can find rivers on the map, which makes it very easy to find one near you. Once you've arrived at a river, run up or down it to find pumpkins and corn. Pick these up and eat them to gain a large amount of food and health. You can also use the corn and pumpkin seeds later to start a farm. If you are also in need of a drink, you can go up to the river and press E when you see the icon drink, and you can keep drinking until your water is full. Lakes also provide the same effect of having clean water to drink from, so if there's no rivers near you, find a nice lake to get a drink from. So by now you should have a bow, a spear and some stone tools in your inventory. You can now move on to finding a nice location to live. I recommend finding a nice location near the outpost. The outpost is a semi-new area within the world of Rust which allows you to go there and buy and trade resources with NPCs, but what we're really looking for within the outpost is buying a jackhammer. This will require quite a bit of scrap, so don't worry about it just yet, but you will want to build a base near there so you can quickly go to the outpost and buy a jackhammer without having to travel across the whole map. You can quickly open your map by holding G on Rust, and this will show you the whole map and all the areas names so you know exactly where to go. Once you've found the outpost and maybe a nice area around it, start traveling towards the outpost from where you've spawned. Once you've found where you need to go, get on or near a main road to gather barrels and crates. These will give you a lot of items including weapons, armor, tools and most importantly scrap. Crates will give you more valuable items than barrels including weapons and tools, while barrels will give you resources and crafting ingredients. If you prefer to stay more stealthy, I would recommend following the large power lines as they also spawn crates and barrels and provide a bit more cover with the surrounding environment. Along this journey you want to be on the lookout for animals and mainly bears, since bears yield the best resources. But to find a bear you'll also need a building plan, which allows you to place a foundation down so you can jump up on it and shoot the bear from a safe distance. Once you've killed an animal, and in this case a bear, you want to use your stone pickaxe to gather the bear since it will yield you the most resources out of all your tools available. Using a stone pickaxe on a bear, it will give you 14 raw meat, 72 animal fat, 36 cloth, 72 leather, and 108 bones. Killing a bear will give you enough resources to instantly craft a furnace, which is great for the early game. But don't worry, if you don't find a bear, you're just going to have to find a few other smaller animals to kill to eventually get enough animal fat. What you're mainly looking for when you're killing these animals is animal fat. You'll want 39 animal fat and 13 cloth to later craft yourself a furnace. Another way of getting low grade is from red barrels, which you can find around the map next to the roads or in rad towns, and this will give you low grade from hitting them. It will also give you crude oil, which you can take to a rad town to cook up and will give you a lot more low grade. So these are faster ways of getting low grade if you can't find animals. But as of right now, you don't need to worry about a furnace because you don't even have a house yet to place your furnace in. You just want to get the resources ready so when you do have a house you can quickly install your furnace within the base so you can build better tools and better protection. Also on your journey you want to gather more ores including stone and metal. The stone will be required to build your first base and make it protected. Now once you have the stone and wood ready you should be able to build your first base. Once again, you want to make sure you're near the outpost so you can easily go in and trade items and progress much faster than you would if you were further away from that outpost. What I would recommend for a quick, easy first base is to just build a 1x2 with an airlock on the front. This won't give you much space, but it'll also be very cheap to make. Once you have a 1x2 down with the airlock, you want to get a wooden door on as quickly as possible and put a lock on it. Once you've got your base complete, you can now relax for just a bit knowing that you're not going to get snuck up from behind and lose all your gear. You can now start placing small crates down and storing your gear away so you won't lose everything you've just progressed to. Now it would be best to build a tool cupboard so your building doesn't decay. The way tool cupboards work is once you place them down, no one can build in that area and your building has upkeep, which means if you do not put the resources which it costs to build in the tool cupboard, the building will decay. Next, you want to make sure you have the resources to place down your furnace within your base. This will allow you to cook up the metal ore that you've gathered from metal rocks and convert them into metal fragments, which can be used in crafting. You're going to want to make sure you're cooking up at least more than 300 metal ore. and that's going to take a while to cook up, so during that time you want to make sure you go out and gather 50 scrap so you can make a level 1 workbench. Also, if you have some spare cloth, you want to make a sleeping bag and place that in your base. This will allow you to spawn up right back into your base if you do die. Once you have a level 1 workbench, you really want to make a crossbow. A crossbow can be crafted using 200 wood, 75 metal fragments and 2 rope. So you want to make sure your metal fragments have cooked up and also you've gathered some rope along your journey. If by chance that you haven't got any rope during your journey, you can go out and try and hit some more barrels, which will give you a 15% chance to find some rope. Or you can find a recycler on the map, which will allow you to recycle items for raw resources. You can then put in a sewing kit which will grind down into some rope. Additionally, a recycler can be found at all major towns and are most commonly used at the gas stations and supermarkets. If you're still struggling with that, you can also go into the outpost and buy some rope with 30 cloth. Now you should have a crossbow, you've got a base set up, you've got a furnace constantly cooking some metal frags which you can use to upgrade your door to a sheet metal door later on, and if you do have friends within the house, you can then make a code lock which will allow your friends to easily enter and leave the base without you having to open the door for them. But we still haven't got to the best part yet, which is the jackhammer. Once you have gathered 150 scrap, head to go buy a jackhammer from the store within the outpost. A jackhammer will allow you to mine ores much faster than what you've previously ever been able to do. But if you're still struggling to even find the scrap to buy a jackhammer, you can always use the materials that you've gathered from the barrels previously and recycle them in the recycler to get scrap. Items that I recommend recycling include electric fuses, sheet metal, metal pipes, road signs, metal blades, and empty propane tanks. Everything I haven't listed is probably worthy of keeping because it is somewhat rare and that you might need to keep later. But if you're in desperate need of scrap, don't bother thinking about the far future, recycle it and get the items now so you can craft what you really need. And here you are, now you've got a house set up, you've got a jackhammer. Your next step is to gather a lot of raw materials, mainly stone and metal, to store away for your next and new improved base. This base will be up to you to build, and I might make a future video on better bases to build so you'll know what to build next. But as of right now, you've got a secure base, you've got the materials, you've got the tools, and you've also got the location of the outpost near you to quickly progress and buy new things. As of right now, you've passed one of the hardest challenges in Rust, which is getting actual base set up and enough gear to progress to the next stage. I really hope I taught you a thing or two about the game and also helped you survive past the first stage of Rust. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.